No.
Hey. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Humbled Under Him presents Mr. Chopping It Up with the HuHmies.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So we back one more time.
That's right.
Had a little break, a little
Low.
self-evaluating,
Yeah.
but man, we're gonna go along with the topic.
Well, let's recap then.
Yeah, recap. Well,
Quick.
there you go.
Let's not get
recap.
carried away.
I'm gonna put the little skip on the recap. Nah, go ahead. Say. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to talk about.
I know Brandon
We talked about the
remembers.
3 P's.
Yeah, we talked about the 3 P's, and we're gonna get
We talked
into
about passion,
And we started with
purpose,
perspective,
and
right?
perspective. Yeah, passion, purpose, and perspective.
and
Uh,
then we're gonna talk about how to go.
And then I
forward
know we
with
was
that.
talking about like figuring out your purpose and things
Yeah.
like that. Maybe your purpose changes and evolves and things like that.
So we're gonna talk about obedience and following God, following your heart, following your mind, following your feelings.
Yeah.
But
That's I heard that they were saying some scientists found that there were like so many neurons in the heart and then neurons in like other places. Like, you know what I mean? Where you would feel in your gut too as well.
Yeah.
So you know how you get like a gut feeling. So
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
yeah. Anybody want to go first?
On obedience?
Well, I guess like we tend to do, let's define it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, do your magic. I feel
All
weird
right.
sitting over here. I kind of like it, but I don't.
All right, so I got
I feel like y'all talk over me though. I'm just bullying me. Y'all ain't bullying me today.
Mhm.
I got 3 definitions: obey, obedience, and obedient. Obey, to comply with or follow commands, restrictions, wishes, or instructions, to submit or conform in action. Obedience, the act or practice of obeying, and obedient, obeying or willing to obey.
Reading Rainbow. Nah, that's tough, man. This is a tough subject.
So the first question is, should we obey God? Should we obey anybody? If we don't obey God, who are we obeying? That was more like 4 questions, but
Yeah.
Well, I know recently, I experiment with like meditation and things like that, and so I recently had this experience where it was like, say if I was like meditating and I asked myself, I'm seeing how I feel. There's like an underlying feeling. Maybe I'm angry, maybe I'm tired, whatever. I look inside myself and say, who's tired? Who exactly is tired? So what it makes me think of is, like you said, who am I obeying? Because you hear different voices.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen a post earlier. Who was it? It was the Tyson Fury. And
Yeah.
he was like, your body's not tired. It's your mind telling your body to quit.
Mm.
Now, if you can tell your mind to tell your body to keep going, then you can keep going through your workout or whatever. So it's like, what do we have mind control? Can you
Yeah.
can you tell yourself? I don't know. Just
Nah,
something
you
out of my
can't.
head. It's
in a
like,
sense, yeah. In a sense, yeah.
but then it's like, who's in your mind? Like, I think we talked about it.
Yeah. So there's
Cat-
3 voices in your mind, typically for a human. Now, there are chemical imbalances that can cause people to have more voices,
Right.
but typically there's 3 voices. You have your own voice, you have the voice of the Holy Spirit, and you have the voice of the enemy. And this applies to a person whether they're a believer in Jesus or not. Because even if you're not a believer in Jesus, the Holy Spirit is in there always trying to get at you, like we've
Right.
discussed before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you got these three voices. And so that means that only 1/3 of the time, the thoughts that you have in your head are actually yours.
No, true.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I'm over here thinking like, man.
Exactly. Most of the thoughts are not from you or from me.
Yeah, I'm over here like, oh, they got me. You know what I'm saying?
Right? But see,
And I'm
that's
like,
why
hold on, who said that?
that's why they said we got to take every thought captive, because the majority of them aren't from us. We just think they are because they're in our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why like meditation is nice for me, and it's the same thing. Like prayer is meditation. You know what I mean? And it's being aware of God, you know, and just being aware and being in each moment.
But why do you meditate?
I do it to bring myself more into the moment I'm living in all the time. Like I don't always do that, but because I practice it though, like I can be in moments where you know, lots of things are going on and I can stop and just take in the moment like better. You know what I'm saying? Like stop and realize like I'm here right now. I'm not where whatever just happened before. I'm not there. I'm right here. And I can't be here yet. You know what I'm saying? And it just, I don't know.
Yeah, like, man, the past couple weeks, I don't know if y'all noticed the new mic stands or whatever, man. I had tore down half the lights, the boom arm mics, and I was like, man, I'm done. I'm done. Tear this all down, man. I got too many voices in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. And I'm like, really, I just need to clear the space. I got too much stuff piled up, you know.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there, I'm trying to get the videos exported, get the MP3s out. I can't figure it out. I go upstairs. I'm sitting there, and I literally like jump up. Oh, go down there and click the top right button, and then click back on the connect the dialogue, and the audio will go over with the video. Duh. And I'm just over here like, I've been down here for 6 hours just staring at the monitor going, why isn't this working? And I'm like, man, who told me that? Because I was done. I was done. I was like, I'm done. I'm finna go skip this freaking computer across Percy Priest Lake. I'm over it. You know what I mean? I'm going to tie the roadcaster to it so it sinks to the bottom and doesn't float up. Like, I was done. And I was like, well, really, I just need to do a little remodel, you know, figure some other things out. But, yeah. But I don't know if that's obeying. And then I was gonna bring this up a little later, not just at the beginning, but you know, a lot to do with obeying or being obedient. You got to decide or make a decision on what you want to do.
Yes.
You know, and it's what I mean, we're not dogs, but you know, you think about, oh, my dog's real obedient. You tell it to sit, you tell it to come here, you tell it to, you know, go to the cage, jump up, get your treat.
Yeah.
I mean, do they want to do that? Probably not. They probably just want to run around and pee and poop and chew up stuff. But you know, they're gonna obey you to get that treat. It's like, are we obeying
just for the
mercy,
for the grace,
just for the treat? You
the
know,
blessing.
Well,
in a way we kind of are before you say it. Just to say, because I just want to say, because God does stay. You know, they say stay close to. That's where the blessings come from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you want to stay. I mean, that's where life comes from. So it's like you want to stay close to the source.
You know, there's a thing that Christians go through that we don't tell other people.
Oh, I'm about to blow it up in a minute. You don't even know.
And it's when you are on the right path, there's going to be so many obstacles. There's going to be so much stuff happen to you that you're going to have to endure.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, why? When I was doing bad, none of this stuff happened to me.
Mm.
When I was out there, well, the devil don't want you. He already got you.
Right.
You know, so can you endure all the temptations to do what you're supposed to do?
Or can you make a mistake and still,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, continue on the right course, you know?
Yep.
You know, it's like if, you know, with us being up in our age a little bit, you know, if you want muscles and a six-pack and all this, you're going to have to go through some things. Like, you're going to have to eat stuff you don't want to eat. You're going to have to get up when you don't want to get up. You're going to have to move when you're hurting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dang, what was the question you said?
Are we obeying for the treat?
Are
Right,
we
like
obeying for the treat?
Yeah.
So
With us being married men, I just thought about something like, hey, you know, if I go over here and help her fold this laundry, she gonna be back in the bedroom quicker.
obey
You know
for
what I'm
the
saying? So
treat.
I'll try to come over here and help clean up this house a little bit. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I got two perspectives for that. And it goes, so I want to touch back on the three things that where we get thoughts from and talk about these two perspectives. So obeying for the treat, right? So I would like to say, first of all,
Risk it for a biscuit.
even if you're not obeying God, you're still obeying somebody. Like, you're not just a free spirit. Like, people think like, you know, I don't obey God because I don't obey nobody. Trust me, if you're not obeying God, you're obeying Satan. And so you have a choice, just like you said. Obedience has to do with a choice. And God even presented it as a choice. And in a minute, I'm going to ask y'all to let me rant about that. But let's just say I don't believe in Jesus, right? I'm obeying Satan. And the reason you know that you're obeying Satan is because you're doing it for the benefit, right? Like, why does somebody cheat on their wife? For the benefit of extra sex. Why does somebody steal? For the benefit of gaining whatever it is they stole, right? It's for the benefit. That's why you're doing it. So you're obeying sin, which is obeying Satan, for the benefit, right? And on the other hand, we as Christians, we're obeying God for the benefit. Now, the truth of the matter is we don't sit around and think like you just said about the marriage thing. Hopefully we don't sit around and think like, I'm only doing this so God can bless me.
Right.
Right? We have more of a perspective that I'm doing this and God will bless me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then also it's like, if you get on a bunch of atheist blogs, when you hear them talk about obedience, like a lot of them say like God's a narcissist and he just wants you to obey because he wants to be in charge and he just needs to feel like he's the guy and he's the man and whatever, you know, a bunch of dumb stuff. Because obedience to God leads to blessings, not because God's a narcissist, but the thing that we, especially as non-Christians, but as Christians, I feel like we haven't fully grasped the concept of, let me read these two verses real quick. Luke 18:17 and John 1:12. Luke 18:17 is Jesus speaking, and he says, "Assuredly, I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child will by no means enter it." And then John 1:12 says, "But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name." Right? So we should have more of a concept that this is a parent-child relationship. Like, our relationship with God does not put us on equal ground with God, and it's like we're standing beside him and we have a relationship together and he does part and I do part. Now, he does do part and I do part, but we're not partners in that sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the father and I'm a child of God. I'm not a man. I'm not a grown man of God. You know what I mean?
And we're
I'm a
supposed to
child
revere him just
of
like
God.
a child does their parent. You know, it's supposed
Right.
to be that's what fear means, like of God is a reverence. It's a respect. You know what I mean? To know that we are not equal. We do not come to the table, you know, to pray and from an equal place. You know what I mean? Like we feel like we're like, oh man, we deserve this, we deserve that. He does say we deserve the world and all the blessings, but it ain't just. It's not necessarily ours. I mean, it's ours, but you get what I'm saying? Like it's his, and it's ours because he you know what I mean? He blessed us. You know, I feel like, you know, maybe I talked about this before, but how like humans have gotten like real egotistical, like real into ourselves, you know?
Yes.
And it's like, I think about it and I'm like, I look at people, I'm like, man, could you create a planet or a mountain or another star or anything like that? Can you do that? A universe, you know what I mean? The entire universe, galaxies, all that. Can you do anything? Can you do just anything like that whatsoever? Man. You can't. So it's like, why would you even question? You know what I mean? Why would you question it? Yeah. I mean, it's right here. Like you could see what's going on around you. And you got no control over it. And what made me think of it is I was like looking out at the river and I was just thinking about there's so many elements that create what's going on right now. Like it was like, I was thinking about like a little plankton or something falling off in the river, how big the river is and just floating off. And imagine everything that's in that plankton from electrons and neutrons. And it's just, we can't even fathom the number of things that are, you know what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
That are going on for this moment to be happening right now. Yeah. For people to be so full of themselves and to think we're so special.
And then what's crazy about us being full of ourselves and so special, especially if we claim to be Christian, is like going back to the whole child aspect. Like, it's funny because Jesus' emphasis is little child. He doesn't say like adolescent child, teenage child. He says little child. And that makes me think of, I have a 5-year-old son, right? So what are the characteristics of most 5-year-old children? Not all, but most. You would say they don't have an ego. They have no pride. If given the chance, they will walk up and love everybody, right? And they are totally dependent on their parent. Yeah. And this is what it should look like between us and God. So now you see that obedience isn't because God's a narcissist, but just like the example you love to use, when you tell your child not to touch the hot stove, is it because you want to feel like you're the man? Right. No. It's because you're the parent who loves your child and knows that that's going to hurt them. Yeah. So when God says don't do something, it's for that reason. Right.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
So can I rant though?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Uh-oh. He's flipping.
So I'm going to go back to Genesis 2:16 and 17. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day that you eat of it you shall surely die. Now, I know this is a weird verse to bring up for obedience, but I'm about to make it make sense.
I mean, I know where you're going. I see where you're going.
To me, this is where God lays out the rules for obedience. He presents Adam with a choice: obey and live, or disobey and die. But I do want to heavily stress, God does not say, disobey and I'll kill you. He said that obeying him leads to life. That is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. The fruit of the Spirit. That is life. Because if we haven't realized, those are attributes of Jesus. And we know that Jesus is the life. But on the other hand, disobedience leads to death. Not because God kills you, but because disobedience is choosing the opposite of life. When we disobey, we kill ourselves. Another illustration of this would be Deuteronomy 11:26 through 28a. Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today. And the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God. See, it's a choice. In this life, we all can choose blessing or curse. Now, God isn't presenting a curse once again because he's a narcissist who needs to feel like he's the man. It's a parent-child relationship. He's simply saying, as a parent, and way better than all, we can find the greatest parent on the planet, and God is surpassed and far more greater than this person could ever be. Oh, yeah. As a perfect parent, he knows exactly what is going to hurt you and what is not going to hurt you. Thus, he presents the blessing and the curse. But look, he loves you so much that he was like, you know what? If you want, I'll let you choose the curse. I'm still going to love you, but just know you're choosing death. And ain't nothing I can do about that. If that's what you choose, that's what you get.
Mm-hmm. And look, and then check it out. Later on, I guess it was like, all right, you need an example. There's Jesus. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I had this weird conversation with my kids earlier where Chloe, the younger one, her and her boyfriend wanted to go see a movie. I was like, all right, cool, no problem. Well, Maya, the 18-year-old, you would never let me do that. And I was like, you never asked. You told me you wanted to go to college and do this and that. Well, we ain't going to let no little boy, little heartbreak, mess that up. Chloe ain't decided what she wants to be yet. So she, whatever, that's cool. I want to meet this little boy too. Scared him half to death. But, I also took the opportunity to show him, okay, this is what I expect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to take my daughter to the movie, you need to pay for the movie. You need to pay for the popcorn. Don't just pay for yourself. I know y'all are 13, but hey, it's going to be part of the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for you. You know what I'm saying? You might need to do a couple little more chores around the house and get a little extra money. But
yeah.
But no, that's kind of one of them. I knew, I don't know, I knew a boy could come in there and mess up your plans. So, hey, no, let's don't do that. When she actually listened, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Or there's ones I don't know about. more like it. But kind of the parent knowing what's best for the child. Like, you don't need to sit around. Look at your brother in the other room pouting because him and his girlfriend broke up. You don't want to go through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we talk about choices, we were talking about this in a small group yesterday where, the same reference that you're kind of talking about is when Eve ate the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, Satan didn't come down in his human form. He tried to deceive you as a serpent.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, God didn't say don't eat the fruit from any tree. It's okay. This is one. But he said, no, that tree. But he tried to change it up where it's like, oh, well, we can't eat any fruit from the tree. No, he didn't say that. Well, they kind of tricked him, deceived him into making the choice. Where it's kind of, I apologize to all the used car salesmen, but, people will try to get you. Hey, we got zero down. Well, we're going to add that into that loan later on. They try to throw.
Or, just...
or you go on
vacation of all the scams that go on nowadays.
Yeah, you go on vacation. Hey, that free breakfast is going to cost you about $15,000. But then the interest rate's going to make it about $50,000 for that timeshare. And you just try to be cheap and not spend $40 on breakfast feeding your family. But it's a good thing. They got me. I go on vacation, but I wish I wouldn't have. But stuck with it now.
Well, obedience is difficult sometimes. I mean, it shouldn't be, but it feels difficult, I should say.
It can be, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, a couple things. One, I think when it comes to obedience, like it's easy to sit here and hear me like quoting these scriptures and stuff. And you may think that I am perfectly obedient. I am not.
Right.
I am not. So let's just tear the curtain down and say a few things that Christians wouldn't normally say real quick. First of all, nobody's perfect, right? So if you're not aware, if you don't read the Bible, you never read a Bible, there's this dude named Paul who is named as writing most of the New Testament. And a section in the New Testament, he writes that he does the things he doesn't want to do, and he doesn't do the things that he does want to do. Now, I know that sounds confusing, but that's just like a very old school poetic way to say, sometimes I sin and don't do what I'm supposed to, right? So if we had to categorize Paul according to anybody living in 2022, Paul would be a super Christian, right? He would be the superhero of Christians. So in my mind, if the superhero sometimes sins and doesn't do the right thing, who are we to think that we would ever get to the point where we would surpass that and also not do that, right? So if the world doesn't know Christian sin, it happens.
Right.
And it comes in a multitude of sins. It might be an old lady gossiping. It might be somebody killing somebody. It happens. People who love Jesus do messed up stuff. And so bringing that back to obedience, I got to bring it back to children. We are children of God. And anybody who has children knows that sometimes your kids listen and sometimes they don't. And then, so one thing to me, like I feel like a lot of people avoid the Old Testament, right? Because they don't really understand it or understand like how it relates to us. So for me, it's like in the New Testament, it says that God chose us, right? So in my mind, we're God's chosen people.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament is an entire story of God's chosen people. So when I read the Old Testament, in my mind, what I'm reading is the way it looks to have a relationship with God. Like when you read about them Israelites, they was with God, they was not with God. They was with God, they was not with God. They was with God, they was not with God. And the truth is, that's kind of how a Christian, like what a Christian walk looks like.
I think that's what life looks like.
Right?
You know?
But that's, I mean,
You
and that's
use
what
God
it is.
to get over this hump, to get over this, to win this battle. And then next thing you know, you right back in the mix of a battle. Mm-hmm. It might not be the same battle, but it's a different battle. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, please come back. You know, that's why you see people go to church and not go to church. And, you know, attitudes change. And, well, I was doing this the whole time, and nothing's changed.
Yeah. But just remember, when you tell your child to do something, they still have to choose to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are like you just said, well, I went to church all year and nothing changed. All you did was go to church. Yeah. Like, what were you expecting?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, God is telling you to do things, and when you do those things,
right,
things will start to change.
Yeah,
but if you don't do those things, like, it's not
like,
God's fault.
Yeah, it's like you got to participate.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Like, if you go to school, you got to do the homework.
Right.
But nowadays, the homework's on 10% of your grades. If you do good on them tests, that are 50 and 40% of your grades.
See, when I was in school, when I was in school, that'd have been the way I'd have been in there.
It's like, man, I'm over here studying for 10%. All I gotta do is just get a half decent grade on this final exam, boy. I'm in there.
In there.
Yeah.
Like,
But,
like when I went to EMT school, I had to make like a 52 on my final to pass. I was like, oh, I got this. There ain't even no reason to study. I think I got about the last 30 questions. I was like, yeah, I'm done. B, C, C, D, B, A, A, C. Made 88 on that thing.
Yeah.
But, so it's going back to obeying, you need to choose. You need to decide, make a decision on, what it is that you're following. Mm-hmm. Like, people with any, working at a job. You decide to go in there. You decide to fill out a application to get promoted. Or you decide, you know what, I'm going to start my own business. I got a hobby. Well, I'm going to decide I'm going to start, doing music. I'm going to start doing a podcast. And then I was listening to a video, and this lady was dissecting the word decide. She was like, decide, if you think about the side part of it, you got pesticide. Pesticide is killing insects. You got homicide. That's killing of a human. So when you decide, you're killing every other option. She referenced, when you get married, when you decide to get married, you kill off every other option of every other woman, right? And I was like, okay, where's she going? And she went on to say, when God decided to send his son down here to die for us, it was a decision that was made. Oh, God, ruthless. He sent his kid down here to sacrifice this only son to
Cosmic child killer.
Yeah.
That's what they call him online.
You know what I mean? For us, for our little peons, No, it was a decision that had to be made. And sometimes it might not be what you want to do. Like, you might not want to work out. You might not want to.
It was a blessing, man. It was like it was meant to be. Like, it's a lesson. It's an example of life.
You look at it. You look at people with addiction. Everybody doesn't want to be an addict. Nobody really wants to do that, but they get caught up into doing something and being told and feeling down. Something in their head is telling them they're listening to the wrong voice. Mm-hmm. Where it's like you can sit there and, like, when you meditate, like you can say, oh, there we go. Get beepings again. Like you can say something to yourself without saying it out loud.
Oh, yeah.
And also run around. When you run around, you hear people, oh, man, look at dude. Like, you might see a homeless person or something running down the street. Man, dude's talking to himself. Maybe he ain't talking to himself. Maybe he's arguing with a demon.
But what about this? In the moment that you said dude's talking to himself, you was talking to yourself.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Man,
Right.
he talking to himself. Yeah, you just asked yourself a question.
For sure. Yeah.
What did you just say to me? I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
figure out. Can you repeat?
Yeah. What did I just say to me?
Yeah. Like when you ask a question, are you like asking the question to yourself?
Man. Nah, that's crazy. But I don't know. Trying to segue.
What we segueing?
That little thing. Yeah, that's called a Segway, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it is the one they stand up on.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other ones
But,
are hoverboards.
But
You ever rode one of them?
segueing into
Not fun.
I rode one at the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I about
Fell
died.
off one time though.
I about died.
I tried to see how fast I could get it going. I took off, and then when I went to slow down, I had socks on. It wouldn't slow down fast enough. When I came off the back, I kept sliding. So, yeah, good times. That was perfect.
that was perfect. But no, obedience. I guess getting back to obedience. You know, like, why are we obedient? Because, you know, like we talked about in the beginning, we understand that obedience leads to blessing, obedience leads to life. But besides that, like, you know, you hear a big word in the Christian world is legalistic, right? Don't be legalistic. Don't be legalistic. You know, legalism is what the Pharisees were and whatever. And so it's become a thing in human pride and arrogance where it's like, if you talk about obedience, people will kind of automatically get defensive and be like, oh, you're one of those people who are just legalistic, right? And I feel like there's two things to that. One, there's people who just don't want to be obedient. And two, there's there's people who are obedient because, or there are people who actually do this, but there are people outside the Christian world who perceive our obedience as this is what we do to get to heaven, right? Like, oh, you're obeying God because you want to get to heaven, right? And, well, that's simply not the case because obedience can't get anybody into heaven. Even if you're perfectly obedient, that doesn't get you into heaven. And what gets you into heaven is another podcast, and we'll talk about that then. But I just want to point out that it is not obedience. So getting into heaven is not why we obey. But simply put, it's like if there's a child who is abused by a parent, typically science has shown that that child will be more disobedient, not just to that parent, but just in life in general. Right? And if a child feels loved, they tend to reciprocate with obedience. And I would like to say, like, that's why we obey as Christians. It's because we have received the love of God through Jesus. And as a reciprocation to that love, because, like, since I can't grab Jesus, I can't go and hug the Heavenly Father, like, well, what can I do to show my love back to him?
Well, look, check it out, too. I want to say we're already blessed to be here, to have the opportunity. Like, without this, we're not here. We don't exist. So what are you complaining about? So the obedience is like, you could be more blessed. We're already blessed. You want to be more blessed? Be more blessed. And it's like, what are you arguing? To love one another? Is that wrong? To not kill people? Is that wrong?
Right.
To not steal? Is that wrong?
Right.
I mean, I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Why are
Like,
we against this?
yeah. Like, what's the big deal? You know, like, what, like, for real. And like I said, we're already blessed to be here doing what we're doing. If obedience, you know what I'm saying, to those, like the things I just mentioned, is going to be more blessing, and not even just for you, it's for everybody. That's how it works, you know what I mean?
It's like even when, a war or something happens, people will say good men are going to have to do bad things for it to be okay. And it's like, so people already know what's right and wrong, but something has to stop, But like you said, is killing people wrong?
Right.
But yeah. And so, I mean, you saying don't steal? Let's go steal some stuff. Hey man, come on, you're not supposed to do that. Why are we taking from other people?
Right.
That's what I mean. The only one they get the hang
You need to
up
decide. You need to decide. Hey, I want a new car.
You know, the one
Or
hang
I
up
want
though
this thing, so I need to go to work
is
and save my
that
money.
they get
or
up on is love
things
God
to do.
first.
Yeah.
That's all it could be.
Love God 1st.
You know what I mean? That's the one, and it's like what we were just saying though. It's like if that's where the blessing comes from, why are you mad?
Yeah.
Why are you mad that, you know what I'm saying?
And
the
then
person
going back
that,
to
or not
children-
the being or whatever you want to call it that's blessing you, it's like, hey man,
Well, it's like
little respect.
well,
You know what I mean?
I don't know if y'all ever noticed this. You might notice it. I don't know if your kid watched it, but Chloe, when she was younger, she loved Thomas the Train. Thomas the Train. I mean, I'm buying every DVD, every little train car set. I don't know. She's a girl.
I streamed it.
She loved Thomas the Train. Well, I'd sit there, you know, it was back in the day. Only got one TV, you know, so I'm watching freaking Thomas the Train with her, you know. And do you ever notice that Thomas never does what he's told to do? Never. And in any episode, he always messes up. He
That's
thinks he
always
can
like
do
that's his
something
thing.
better. It's his thing. And then everybody's got to come help him fix it. And I'm like, we ain't watching no Thomas Train no more.
Right,
You know,
right.
He's like, you know, they're teaching the kids, hey, you know, Mr. Top Hat or whatever his name is said, hey, you need to take this here by 3 o'clock. Well, if I swing by here and here and here, I could do this and get there by 3 o'clock with this shortcut. Now it messes up, wrecks, whatever. Everybody's got to come help him fix it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's almost like they teach some little slick cartoons and things like that, man, try to manipulate. It's more, I probably trying to teach them a lesson. Not saying Thomas the Train's bad, and they're going to cancel culture us. But
We're them paranoid Christians.
yeah, gotta get him off of there. Talking trains and trains.
Trains don't talk.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're boycotting Thomas the
yeah,
Train.
they're turning machines in. They're turning.
Matter of fact, we're going no more trains
Yeah.
on the planet.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
more trains.
Yeah.
No trains,
Don't trust
planes,
'em.
Don't
automobiles.
trust 'em.
All of them got to go. We're walking barefoot,
That's right.
Yeah.
connecting with the earth. But I don't know.
Nah, but you were just saying something.
I was just saying that, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about like what are they arguing? They were like the main thing is like love God first. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I mean,
But then like if you go back, that's what I was gonna say. Then if you go back to like parent-child relationship, it only makes sense. Like my kid loves me before he loves other people.
right, right.
Like,
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Till he meets a girl.
Till he meets a girl.
Oh, yeah.
He already cut that one girl there.
Yeah, but then, but that's the point though, because then he goes on to be the same thing
Yeah.
to another child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's just like, you know, you see videos of kids don't know about race.
No.
You
Right.
know? Kids don't know about, you know, you might have one kid in kindergarten, first grade or something that, you know, you would think's bullying other kids, but they just might not have, you know, what that other kid has and feel undervalued, you know, or whatever. But it's not that they want to just pick on somebody. They might be.
They don't know what
they
else
might-
to do. They're a child.
Yeah, they might be the youngest kid in the house and getting picked on all the time. So they're doing what they're doing what
Right.
they've shown.
Right.
You know.
Yep. Yep.
Where, you know, it's kind of, you know, God's our heavenly Father, and you should feel that, you know, and some people don't have dads, you
Yeah.
know, and some
Yeah.
people don't.
Yeah.
So when you say that, yeah, you know,
And then it's crazy
I
because
know y'all two respect y'all's dads, you know.
I didn't
Y'all's dad-
always.
I mean,
At one point, it was bad. I
Yeah.
even recorded a song where I was talking bad about him,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then like played it for him.
but you know,
Dang. Went in on him. Snapping on pops.
good say it to his
Snapping
face. No, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, I don't know, it might be another podcast, but I was talking to my dad, And he brought up my grandpa, his dad. He was just telling me stuff about him. And I'm just kind of like, why you throwing grandpa under the bus? It made me think, like, when do men decide from being the king and they're the prince, and it's time for them to be the king because they have a prince? I don't know why that came in my head, but it's kind of one of them things. Like, when does that switch happen? Like, when's my son gonna turn on me? Because he's got his own son. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get this old guy up out of here. You know?
Oh, man.
We're going by our rules now.
Yeah,
You
but
know?
that was more back in the day, though, because it was colonial.
You know,
what I mean?
that's
So
how I felt when my dad was talking. I was just like, man, don't make me tell your daddy what you just said. But
it's crazy. It reminds me of, have y'all seen that movie, The Shack? It's an old movie now.
Yeah.
I don't endorse God being a woman, but I endorse the ideas and concepts in that movie. And what I liked, because it pointed out like why you can't really judge people. But remember, it showed the dude, and he was beating the crap out of that kid, and the guy was like, what would you do? And he was like, well, that man needs to be stopped and he needs to be punished. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he needed to be punished and, whatever, like judgment needed to rain down on him. And he goes, well, let me show you something else. And then he showed that dude as a child getting the crap beat out of him. Mm-hmm. And he was like, so how do you judge? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't endorse crime, but if all I did starting today was teach Asher how to be a criminal, who could judge Asher for being a criminal? You could judge me for being a terrible dad.
Right.
But how could you judge him for being a criminal? Because as a child, when he didn't know nothing, this is what I started teaching him. And he trusted me as his father.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like wrapping that back into obedience. It's like also, it's kind of like we have predispositions that we've learned throughout life, right? So it's kind of like if we went cover to cover in the Bible, there's things that it's real easy for you to obey, and there's things that you have struggles with. Mm-hmm. And then there's different things that are easy for me to obey and things that I struggle with, so on and so forth, right? Because we've all lived a different life, different experiences, different upbringings, different whatevers. And, so not only are we, in a sense, I guess I want to say, not only are we fighting the obstacle of being just a human, because being human just brings along the characteristics of rebellion. You know what I mean? Like, that's just part of the human nature, is rebellion and disobeying. So not only do you have that aspect of it that's just natural, but then you have like learned aspects of disobedience. Like you were saying, and we're not saying Thomas the Train is teaching kids to be terrible. So don't write us off.
Right.
But like you were saying though, like things are teaching us, from all these different angles, especially in this world that we live in, this modern society, like, golly, it's coming from everywhere. Mm-hmm. Right? So back to those voices again. Who are you listening to? Because trust me, it's literally only those three voices exist. Yours, the Holy Spirit's, and the enemy's. And the enemy does a lot of work. Like I was watching SWAT, right? And SWAT's an okay show, whatever. I think I was just watching it because there was nothing else on, wasn't no sports on or nothing. So I was watching SWAT. And it was an interesting episode. It's one of those episodes where they have a crazy pastor and he's starting a cult. And you know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, right? So that's how they're painting the church picture. They do that a lot. But anyways, toward the end of the episode, what's his name? Shamar Moore? I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. The little sexy guy. Not because I think he's sexy, but that's what America thinks. Yeah. But toward the end of the episode, he goes, and that's just proof that we don't need pastors. And I kid you not, I looked over at Janaea and said, 1 million people just decided right now and believe pastors are obsolete.
Yeah.
Like that just happened right now.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's slick like that. And that's how the enemy is, right? Because people will just think that they had a thought one day, like, you know what? In my logical sense, and our pride and arrogance again, I'm in my logical sense, like, it doesn't make sense that I need a pastor.
Well, and I mean, even here, right here in our area, you know, all of us drive past several churches to get to the church that we go to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why are there so many churches? Why are there so many people that we're supposed to be teaching the same thing?
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many different branches. There's so much division.
There is.
You know, and that's something that's has a lot of people that, well, which one am I going to go to?
There's a way that seems right to man
Yeah.
that leads to death.
But, you know, I mean, it's a thing where, like, that happened on TV, and it's like, well, if you look around, I mean, not saying he's lying or telling the truth, but, I mean, you look around, it's like, well, what's wrong with that church? You know, and you got some other bastards that are down the street that will
Well, some of it ain't all bad,
get to
though.
talking politics and all kinds of other stuff, and
Yeah.
I was going
you
to say,
know,
some of it ain't all, like, bad, though, for being different churches. Like, you know, you might have some real old folks that want to go and just chill, worship God, and keep it light.
yeah,
And then you got some other people want to get wild, scream and holler, you know what I mean? Want to go to a Baptist church and really get wild, you know what I mean, right quick. And then you got us in-betweeners that want to go. And,
go
like,
to
if
the
somebody
church
want to get a little wild, all right, that's cool. We feel it, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we want to worship, but we don't want to get too crazy, you know?
yeah. I worship God how I worship God.
Right. Yeah. So
You know,
some of it's like, you know, people just feel comfortable maybe.
Yeah.
But some of it is some division, though.
So, yeah, it's all of that. It's all of that. It's
Right.
definitely all of that. And see, I have this theory that America is the most dangerous place in the world to be a Christian. And I understand that there are places in this world where being a Christian can get you killed if the government finds out you're a Christian.
Right.
And I don't think any of those places are as dangerous as America for a few reasons. One, see, like in China, Christianity is illegal, right? All the churches, anybody who's Christian, it's underground, right? Like they got, like churches will have like a couple pages out of the Bible that they pass around to each other and share. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. Right. So in China, if somebody is a pastor and they preach Jesus, guess what you know definitely ain't happening? They ain't lying about it.
Yeah.
Because people don't risk their lives for things they don't believe in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody who's like, I don't believe Jesus is real is going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go over here and act like I believe in Jesus and risk my life for it.
Right.
Right? But see, in our country, it's so free. I did quotes for people who only listen to the podcast and don't watch the video. But free. That there's no problem. No problem with somebody being like, you know what? Churches make lots of money. I'm going to start a church for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm going to just make lots of money. And this person is going to, they could possibly, you know, they could have a mega church, right? Leading thousands of people to the slaughter. And all these people.
Because they can talk good.
Well, they usually get like a master's in psychology or something.
Right?
You
And
know?
all these people going to this church 20, 30 years, right? Just to get, when judgment day happens, just so they can hear, get away from me, I never knew you. Right? Jesus says, like, people are going to be like, what do you mean? Like, we cast out demons in your name? We did this in your name? We did that in your name? And he's going to be like, I don't know who
just
you
because
are.
the pastor doesn't necessarily believe it and doing it for alternate gain doesn't mean that people in that congregation don't.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I'm not saying, and I'm not saying Okay, well, what I'm saying is like,
But I mean, I get what you're saying.
you know, like, say,
Like there was-
I'm a huge nationalist,
Well,
right? So if I preach a nationalist gospel to you, and everything I say about the Bible is wrapped up in your nationalism and who you are as whatever country you come from or whatever, and it's like, just say we're from Brazil, and I'm like, like God cares about Brazil, and you have rights, because of God, and da 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 da, right? So you're led to believe all these things, and you don't read the Bible, you just follow the pastor, right? So you live your life a certain way, thinking you're good,
Yeah.
right? Because
I go fishing with the pastor on Thursday, and we smoke and drink and
whatever.
Talk about-
Like it's like whatever.
talk about
And-
what Miss
and-
Betty had on Wednesday night. You know
So
what
it's
I
like
mean?
it's like talking about all the different churches and all the different denominations. I think about that a lot because I'd be like, man, where in the Bible is there different denominations? And even the slightest hint of there being different denominations, Paul like shut it down immediately. He was like, what is y'all talking about? Like, who was baptized in Paul's name or who was baptized in Apollo's name? Like, yo, we're all baptized in Jesus' name. Like, chill out with that. Right? And I mean, it's crazy. Like, all of that to me is just like, what? Like, where did it come from? Like, why do we have it? Why does it exist? And it, to me, my personal opinion is like, man, it exists because Satan is cool with using the church to lead you astray.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
Hey, listen, man. He knows the Bible better than all of us.
He
Right?
was angel.
You know?
Right?
So,
So it's dangerous out here for Christians in America.
I feel you, man. That's real.
You know what I
Like-
mean? We
like
got to be
seriously.
on extra guard.
Well, the thing is I think everybody just needs to be their own thinker. You know, everybody needs to be a free thinker. You know, when you read into the Bible, don't like just because your pastor said this, like, okay, that's great. Now
gotta
let me
check
read
it.
in there.
You
Let
got to
me
check
see.
it.
Yeah, exactly, man. It's the same thing. Like, but we just got too many people that. Oh, I shouldn't say we got too many people, but there are people that just, they want things easy. They're ready to be misled. You know, I mean, they'll let the government do it. They don't want to love God first, and they want to argue with what Jesus stood for, but they'll follow the government, boy, right?
Man.
Wherever they say go.
Yeah.
And the
You
Bible
know?
says, and they will raise up teachers for themselves who will tickle their ears, but will be totally deceiving them.
Yeah.
People just want to hear what they want to hear. That's why so many different gospels exist now.
Well, that's why I was saying, like, the real shame is going to be this metaverse online because all the people that, you know what I mean, that they don't want to be who they are, and they could go on the metaverse and be whoever they want to be.
Yeah.
Like, I can be this beautiful person. I could do this or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not against like some virtual reality stuff. I think it's pretty cool. You know what I mean? It's like as a tool. Like,
Yeah.
if I got friends that live in multiple states and we want to hang out for a little bit and talk, and we can just jump on there and be like, "Hey, what's up, man?" You know what I mean?
And they got like the virtual thing. The NBA does it where
Yeah.
like y'all can all wear the thing, and
See
it's
what
like
I'm
you're
saying? Like,
sitting
that's cool.
together
That's
at the
what I'm
game.
saying.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Watch a movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm cool with that. But it's like it's going to turn into though like the weak people, and and I am calling y'all weak. You're weak. You're weak-minded. You know what I'm saying? If you can't think for yourself and you just follow, and that's what you do. You know what I mean? And you get sucked into it. That's what you're gonna do. And the elites are gonna swallow you up, and you deserve it because you won't pay attention. You know, and you want to argue the message of Jesus that just says, "Love God, love your neighbor." And like, like I said earlier, don't steal, don't kill, all these different things. Don't covet. It's like, it seems like common sense, and you want to argue it. So, argue it, man, and let the elites take over. Live in the metaverse, man. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just keeping it 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. You heard what he said.
What was the sound effect for that?
I don't know.
Yeah, for them, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's it. For real. For them, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But obedience is hard.
But I was going to say what we were just talking about leading back into it.
Yeah.
All of what we just talked about, the danger, the people leading people astray, all of this that exists is another reason why obedience is such a good thing. Because with all of these things that exist, well, we know that we have this thing. I'm pointing to this like it's a Bible. But we know that we have this thing that we know that if we're obedient, most of this stuff we can avoid. But we do have to bring up two stories. But most of this stuff we can avoid. And I say most on purpose.
And what do we have? What does it say to be obedient to the... What does it say in the Bible? What are we to be obedient to? To
the Lord your God?
No, to the Word.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because He is the Word.
He is the Word, yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was going to say, don't follow the pastor and don't just follow us.
It's love.
As we say something.
Love
Look
God.
into the Word.
Love God. Love God. Follow God. And we was talking, previous about, perspective and passion and your purpose. And it was like, you spend time, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Well, we were like, maybe it's about being obedient, and then those things will come to you.
And that's kind of like what we talked about, but without using the word obedient. Like we were talking about, like, me and Derek were talking about instead of focusing on finding this one special thing, focus on your relationship with God and let Him bring that thing to you.
Right.
Yeah. So then when you're like, hey, God, I want to do a podcast,
Yeah.
So, you've been obedient, and it's like, boom, okay. Does He really want to do this podcast? And I went through all the stuff I went through the past couple of weeks. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay. And all of a sudden, the computer's working, and I'm like, two little clicks over here, and phone call.
Nice.
And it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you get to thinking, going back to, the reference of the parent and the child, if your kid does his chores, if your kid, picks up his room and gets decent grades on his schoolwork and this and that and brushes his teeth, or, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do as a parent? You reward them.
You want to bless
reward them. I mean,
Hey,
it's like the whole concept
wanna-
of Christmas. Good kids get gifts and bad kids get nothing.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but put it out there too. The devil will reward you.
Watch out now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out now. Whatever it takes to lead you astray, He knows every single one of us individually.
But there is a difference, though, because you will lose things.
Yeah,
and it's like,
from the rewards you receive from the devil, eventually
Yes.
it's taking from you, and eventually it will catch up to you, and you'll see.
like right now, Titans wet the bed on us, but right now they're asking, different other teams, fans, they're pretty wasted. What would you do for your team to win a Super Bowl? And people are saying outrageous things. You know what I mean? Like, I'd give my firstborn kid. I'd let you cut my leg off.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple other guys was like, I would, and I'm just like, no, bro. Like Vrabel said, well, they asked him on a podcast, what would you do for a Super Bowl? He's like, they're like, would you chop your thing off? He's like, yeah, I would. My wife would probably enjoy that too. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, what are you trying to say? You know what I mean? But as the saying, the rewarding part, like, you got to be careful. What are you sacrificing by obeying?
Yeah.
Your self needs or wants, your self wants, your self urges.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to trade my desires for God's desires.
And it's like, well, what are you doing to, obey God? Probably be the next topic. I don't know.
I think getting in on that topic is like, you got to, what Derek was saying, like, that's one of the reasons why you read the Bible. Like the Bible even tells you test the spirits. And when it says test the spirits, it basically means test everything you hear. Because like we're talking about, there's three voices, and two of those voices are spiritual. So everybody who speaks to you is filled with either the Holy Spirit or the spirit of the enemy. So everything you hear,
you got to question it. You know what I mean? Like for real, you got to think for yourself. You got to question. If you don't question it, how are you going to know?
Right? And then the confines of your local church community, like the reason the congregation reads the Bible is because the way God has it set up is like a pastor is a shepherd over you, and God loves that concept. So that's why he did that. But he loves the shepherd over you concept, and he loves the concept of people submitting to authority, especially spiritual authority. Right? So he feels like in this life, one of the things we are to be obedient to is to a spiritual authority. That's where a pastor comes in. But that's also why you shouldn't just be somebody who just comes to church and leaves. Like the church should be an actual community. Like everybody in the congregation should know the pastor. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the reason we're in the congregation is because God led us to this church for you to pastor me.
Right.
Now, that may seem like I'm putting a lot of pressure on the pastor. Well, I am. You signed up for that.
Right.
The Bible even says if you choose to be a teacher, you are held even more accountable than the average layperson.
Right.
Right? So this is what you signed up for. So,
and you don't know who's finna walk through that door.
Right? You don't know who finna walk through that door. But in that church community, the reason why the congregation reads the Bible separate from what the pastor preaches, like Derek is talking about, is because we need to know. Because iron has to sharpen iron. Like that pastor does need to teach us. That pastor does need to shepherd us. That pastor does need to counsel marriages and visit people in the hospital. That pastor does need to do all that. But we are supposed to also hold our pastor accountable. And I don't mean in a judgmental way where we're like, oh my God, I can't believe the pastor's doing that. We got to get rid of him. I mean in the aspect of iron sharpening iron. We should want the pastor to be the best pastor he can be. And if we can help that process, which we should be able to because we're claiming to be Christians, then that's what we need to do in that particular process. You know what I mean? Like the church community should be that. It should be a community. It's not a play. It's not a church ain't a spectator sport. I get it. You go on Sunday, sit and listen, but that's just that in and of itself is not church. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, the church is us, the people. Right. You know what I mean? I wrote
four walls and a roof.
I wrote in a song recently. Matter of fact, I'll just reference it real quick before I butcher what I said. But because this is the concept that like I feel like lots of people don't know, and I feel like it's a deception of the enemy because I've always thought if you convince people that they go to church, then they'll never be the church. Because you convince them that church is something you go to,
right?
Not something you are. What I say?
Well, it's like, even with quarantine and all that, I wish shut the churches down. They didn't realize people was having church in their own houses now.
Mm-hmm.
And also what I was going to say, what you saying about like the pastors, like, man, we can't judge either because at the same time that we need to be questioning it, he's got to be in the word doing that for him and his family too. Mm-hmm. Like he got to be practicing what he preaching, not just us. So
yeah. I said, the church is us, not buildings with steeples. His bride is the redeemed. He didn't die to save cathedrals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to bring up prosperity and success real quick. Because prosperity is a super taboo subject in the church because
what's it called?
It's very, what do you want to call it? It's very popular now to preach prosperity in a way that, like, in our American society, like when you hear prosperity, only thing people think of is money. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, prosperity equals money, so Jesus will make you prosper, so you're going to get money. Come to church. Right?
Right.
But I wanted to bring up Joshua 1:8 because I feel like it applies to what we're all doing in our lives, trying to start something and doing things, and we're all doing it because we feel like this is where God is leading us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Joshua 1:8 says, this book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Now, if you're not familiar, Joshua is who took over after Moses died, and he's the one who actually led the Israelites into the promised land and conquered the nations. This was God talking to Joshua.
I thought it was Aaron, or Aaron was his brother.
Aaron was Moses' brother.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is God talking to Joshua, and he's telling him, like, like this book of the law, right? And for us, that's the Bible. For them, it was, the first, the law of Deuteronomy that, God gave Moses, right? The Mosaic law. But for us, it's the Bible. And the way that this verse applies to us and the way it applied to him is, first of all, God's not saying that if you study the Bible, you get rich. He is saying you will be prosperous and have good success. But this was a very specific situation God was talking about. And he was telling him about, like, this is the mission that's about to go on. You're about to go over here into the land of Canaan. There's going to be a lot of fighting. Like, there's going to be a lot of war. Y'all are going to have to do all this stuff. It's going to be difficult. Like, it ain't just going to be a walk in the park. But if my law, if obedience to what I told Moses to tell you all that now you have, because Moses is dead, if obedience to this will make you prosperous in what I'm telling you to do. So what I just want to say and point out is, when God tells you to do something, whether that be make a podcast, whether that be what I got going on, and I'm doing a lot of research. I'm working on a journal. Today We Live is going to be coming back. I got some music stuff going on. Derek's over here. He's got music stuff going on. But if God tells you to do something, he said the way that you prosper and succeed in doing that is obeying his word. Right? So once again, another reason why we study the Bible is because God said, that's how I prosper in the things he tells me to do. And I don't know about anybody else, but I would like to prosper in those things.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody wants to prosper, period.
Yeah.
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 So once again, I don't know. We've had a lot of reasons on why to study the Bible. I'm going to be doing this thing soon. I got this interview video that I'm going to do.
Yeah.
On Bible study, because I feel like Bible studies, I feel like lots of things in the Christian world has been turned into things that are extremely complicated. And I feel like
Well, it's kind of just like how we've been talking about. Man, how do you get this? How do you get? Well, love God.
Yeah.
Love people.
Right.
yeah. But I feel like even in the church world, like just it's almost like we've gotten to the point in our human pride and arrogance where, like, we've read the Bible, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be more spiritual than God.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
One of the things I think that American Christians it's what we can't do. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. when everything else is, hey, you can go swimming until 10 o'clock at the pool. You can go
Yeah.
to the beach. You can
Yeah.
go, we got access to here. You can use the fitness. There's always, this is what you can do. And people have turned Christianity into things you can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, like we said, going back to that set of rules getting you into heaven, like it ain't about a set of rules.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not really that we can't do those things.
Because we can.
Because we can.
Because the Bible does tell me that I have freedom in Christ.
Yeah.
Freedom to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, we already said that.
But now we choose
Exactly,
to do,
it's a choice.
we choose and decide, obey to do something else.
Yeah.
Because we know the other stuff ain't.
Yeah.
Everybody here can, run to the gas station
and I
and
think
grab some
I think we
alcohol
all,
and run around and
all,
act dumb tonight, but we choose not to.
Yeah.
we all need, for everybody to realize that, it's also about more than yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, to obey, all those things like we talked about, to love one another and everything it's not about you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's about everybody
Oh,
else,
everything's
man.
about me, bro.
It is, but you know what I mean? Like, it's about everybody. Because, like, yeah, you could just be selfish and do everything for yourself. But let's take it to the point where then everybody's gone. It's just you left.
Let's, for instance, I'm going to say it like my pastor says it. Like, when you receive a blessing, it's not so you can be blessed. It's so you can bless somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I mean? One of the concepts in the Bible that we don't do a really good job at is that we are supposed to look at others as more important than ourselves. So, like, in America, well, I guess in the world, because there's planes all over the world, but in America, this concept of what I'm about to talk about the plane, has become like just an unspoken holy grail of a rule. But like you got to put your air mask on first. Well, let me just let everybody know, if Jesus was on a plane, that's not what he would do. He would put your air mask on first, and then he would just die, because he would consider your life more important than his. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying I don't endorse putting your air mask on first. I'm just trying to make a point.
Yeah.
About the Christian perspective.
It's like, even like in the medical field, they tell you make sure the scene's safe, because I don't need to get hurt helping you, and now we got two patients.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so it's how you look at it.
Yeah.
Where your job is actually to help you. It's like firemen. Well, hey, firemen, I don't need y'all running this building. And some people choose. That's what they choose to do.
Yeah.
But I was sitting there thinking too, when you were just talking about, people want to prosper, and oh man, God, if you just help me get this, job that pays $80,000 a year, man, I'd be so happy. And it never happened. And it's like, God's looking at you like you can't even do what you're supposed to do with your $30,000 year salary. Yeah. So, why are you gonna prosper and blessing with this? That's gonna be, you think you're about to crumble over here.
Yeah.
Well, we try to negotiate.
Yeah.
With God.
Right.
Yeah.
We're like, well, listen, man. I mean, I don't want to do all that stuff now. How about you go ahead and
it's happened to me.
Hit me with the million.
It's happened to me. God, if you let me get on over here at this place, I swear to you,
blessing everybody.
I am going full force we're humbled under him. I swear to you. I mean, I'll sacrifice one of my dogs right now. You know what I mean? Like where do I need to do my blood sacrifice? Bam, it don't happen. And then next thing you know, guess what? It was pretty much, confirmation that I needed to do humbled under him only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, well, I still have to go to work for a little bit now. But it's kind of a weird thing how it happened, where the thing you wanted to happen was completely no, but it was really the answer that you were looking for the whole time. And then you just got to decide, make a choice.
Got to kill all other options.
Kill other options. Even though Derek says you can't kill other things, we can kill options.
But yeah, you can, and
Man, we over here making the cameras die. We probably have to
kill the option
we're
to
gonna
not
have to run
look into the word for yourself.
We're gonna have to end this one,
know?
man.
Yeah.
You ready?
All right. Final thought. Final thought. Obedience is good, depending on who you're being obedient to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Huh?
Today we live.
Wayne on the track.
Oh.